Residential Agents Podcast.
I bet you did not know that to be a successful real estate agent, you needed to be a professional downhill snow skier first.
It's the only way to be a good real estate agent. I mean, come
Then
on.
we're all screwed unless we're from like Utah or Colorado, which today's guest is. Obviously, I kid, but obviously that is the tease to who this person was in a past life. And I literally just met her about 3.5 minutes ago.
Yes.
And I'm excited to have this conversation. Welcome to the show. Is it Athena? Did I say that right?
That was perfect.
Athena Brownson. And as you now know, in a past life, she was a professional skier. So obviously, let me set the table.
Yeah.
Professional skier to interior design to real estate. Now, the latter two make sense. The skiing to this does not make sense. So I want to hear this because you told me you chased snow around the world, X Games. That's cool. Tell us your story.
Absolutely. And you will find that they actually fit together so much better than you could have ever imagined and I could have ever imagined. When I was a professional athlete, never in a million years would I think I would be sitting here telling you that I had been a realtor for 10 years. That definitely was not on my radar. But I grew up in Breckenridge, Colorado. So, yes, grew up on the mountain, basically. My dad was a professional speed skier. So, he was one of those crazy people that went down the hill as fast as he possibly could and got clocked at, I think his record was like 127 miles an hour. So, insanity, like the psychoses, runs in our blood for sure. But with that being said, I learned how to ski around the same time I learned how to walk. And my dad also happened to be a residential real estate developer and builder. So, but because of that, I honestly, when you're young, you don't want anything to do with what your parents do. So again, it was never on my radar. I thought that real estate was being like cold on job sites with him, and I had a really negative connotation because we had more real estate offices than t-shirt shops in Breckenridge, which is really saying something because it's a mountain town. But that being said, yes, I grew up in Breckenridge. I skied every single day. As I mentioned, like I went pro when I was 16, and to go pro is basically when you start getting paid to ski and you're getting sponsorship money and you're getting sponsors. So I got my first big sponsor actually when I was 15. And that enabled me to start really traveling the world. So I followed snow wherever it went. We did about 300 plus or minus a few days on snow between, all the way from British Columbia down to Argentina and New Zealand and Chile, and lived in Germany. I mean, skiing took me places that never in a million years could have dreamt of. With it came its fair share of injuries. I blew 9 ACLs during that time, broke a couple legs. It was all par for the course though. I always say now, looking back, skiing was the best possible learning business school that I ever could have asked for, no matter what profession that I ended up in. But it also set me up for really wanting to be an entrepreneur. I didn't realize it at the time, but skiing obviously is an independent sport. I'm also an only child, and I didn't realize that skiing was teaching me all of life's critical lessons in terms of how to be accountable, how to show up, how to like really be resilient in the face of adversity, how to build that grit, and really how to, if I didn't show up on time for my coaches, there were repercussions. So it really taught me the accountability needed to succeed in life. And it also showed me that the more that you put into something consistently, the more you're going to get out of it.
Amen.
So,
Now, I got a
right?
lot. I got a lot to unpack before we get to real
Let's
estate.
unpack.
Sorry if you don't care about this stuff. I like to get to know people. How
Hey, I
long?
like that too.
How long did you live in Breckenridge?
Until I got kicked out. Just kidding. I was about 21 when I completely left Breckenridge.
Are you
Um,
so you're pretty familiar with the area,
I know
obviously.
it pretty well.
I do
I
you
still
know?
sell some homes up there.
So are you familiar with the Sundowner 2 complex?
Yeah,
Okay, I owned
absolutely.
a condo in there.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. So we were like, like
Small
perfect spot,
world.
like 2 or 3 blocks from Main Street, 2 or 3 blocks from Snowflake Lift, all the
So
things, right?
perfect.
Yeah. I
Oh, that's
just I
so
just
funny.
sold out of it actually. Ironically,
Really?
yeah, because I had a daughter move to Salt Lake City, so I'm like, why would I go to Breckenridge? I got to go visit her, and there's actually arguably maybe better skiing there. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think it's an argument. I think they
Is it?
definitely have better mountains.
Now Breckenridge though is like the most perfect right out of a movie little town. It's so cool.
It is. And you know what? I always say, even though Dumb and Dumber says it's filmed in Aspen,
Yeah.
it was filmed in Breckenridge,
Was it
and my
really?
my dad's speed skiing helmet was in it.
Oh,
So
cool.
when Harry gets off the chairlift, that he's wearing my dad's helmet, and that's our claim to fame. So
That is
that's
really cool.
Breckenridge for you if you don't
That
know
is really cool.
it.
All right, so of some questions. As a skier, as somebody who's been all over the world, and when you say chasing snow, obviously you're chasing seasons, right? Because
Exactly.
Breckenridge can be November to April, it could be January to March. It depends on the weather. What in all of your travels, I'm sure you've had this question asked you before. What's your favorite mountain?
I would say Portillo chili
Really?
was and that's purely from a big mountain skiing and snow perspective. Now I was a professional slope style skier, so to me like Breckenridge has one of the best terrain parks in the world. I grew up with one of the best terrain parks, but being able to ski light fluffy powder without anyone around you for days and days was something I only found in South America. So,
Why? Because people just aren't into recreational skiing like they are in the States?
you know, not as much. And the roads to get to the ski resorts are treacherous to say the least.
Yeah.
Like, hundreds of switchbacks, hundreds and hundreds of switchbacks to get, and you have one option of a place to stay. There's absolutely nothing besides that one place to stay. They'll feed you. It's just simplicity at its finest. And I always say, like, my favorite acronym is KISS for real estate. Keep it simple, stupid. I
Hmm.
think it's the same thing and just in life. They know how to keep it simple and you enjoy it so much more when it's just like the simple pleasures of life.
It's
So
not about commercialism and making the most money like every ski
exactly.
resort in the States. Yeah. Yeah.
Much different.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you were doing terrain parks, obviously. So X Games style, which means tricks and jumps and all the things. Did you ever aspire to be in the Olympics?
Absolutely. And that was kind of my trajectory. Unfortunately, I got to the place with injuries where my knee surgeon looked at me and he's like, Athena, you're gonna need a knee replacement before you're 30 at this point. Like I really think you should stay on the ground from now on. Now it took me a little while to be okay with that, but I did retire gracefully, and then my sport became an Olympic sport the next year. So I was bummed but excited to cheer on a bunch of my friends. And
That was my question was because that was not a sport. What year was that when it became an Olympic sport?
gosh, it must have been that's a great question. Probably like what year was the Winter Olympics? Like 2018, 2016 or 2018?
Oh, that recent. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
they
did
always
you?
had downhill and slalom
Yeah.
and
Did
Yeah,
you ever
but
aspire to do that stuff since that, what do you call that type of, I call it X Games, but that's not it. What do you call that type of skiing?
slope style skiing,
Slope style.
yeah,
Okay.
like or freestyle.
Okay.
And I grew up as like traditional downhill skier, I think that's what gives you a really amazing foundation. It was that was my foundation. It taught me the basics, the core of how to be a successful athlete. And from that, I was able to morph it into slope style skiing, which honestly, like at the time, there were not a ton of women in the industry. It was an emerging sport for sure. Now it's something that's very commonplace. I mean, I think everyone in the world knows Shaun White. It's,
Yeah.
same, we're on the same tour as skiers and snowboarders. So a lot of those guys I grew up with, and a lot of them, I talk so much about the importance of coaching and mentorship. And it's like, those guys were my mentors. I remember anytime I needed to try a new trick or hit a new jump and I needed a little confidence boost, I'd follow them off. And you just really visualize, hope for the best, and have really good people around you to help you like gauge what you're doing. And that's what skiing was. It was an incredible community.
It's fascinating. I imagine. Last question about this. 9 ACL surgeries. How bad do you hurt every day?
So honestly, my knees feel great. The
Surgeons.
rest of
Okay.
me feels horrible. I unfortunately got Lyme disease I was diagnosed about 9 years ago,
No.
and it turned into about every autoimmune in the book disease in the book, and my body just attacks my nerves all the time. So I'm in a constant state of pain, but none
Oh,
of it
yeah.
has to do with skiing, which is ironic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have had two neck surgeries, I've had broken ribs, like anything you could think of, but none of that compares with chronic illness, like even in the slightest.
Jeez.
But it
I
taught
dropped
me
a,
how.
what's that?
I said it taught me how to be tough though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I dropped a wrench on my foot yesterday, and I was complaining to my wife last night about how it hurt. Now I feel kind of bad about complaining about that.
No, I always say everything's relative. Like that would still hurt me. Hey, like if it hurts, it hurts. That's just a reality. We just got to figure out how to deal with it.
That's right. That's right. All right. So you went from skiing, obviously, the injuries ended that career. What led you to interior design?
Yeah. So like I said, I grew up in a family of developers and builders. So my mom did all of the interior design for the projects that my dad did. So he pretty much built out most of Peak 8 and Peak 7, like all the really beautiful homes you see up there, and she did the interior design for them. I knew that I had a really strong passion for design and homes. And to me, it interior design felt like it was going to be a really great fit. And, it definitely, I had a great internship with a company that was between Breck and Denver while I was in college in Boulder. So did a lot of driving. And I worked for them for about a year after the internship. And like I said, I realized pretty quickly that I needed to be my own boss, and that a job where I was sitting behind my computer from 9 to 5, just counting down the hours, was not right for me. But having that interior design background gave me so much like invaluable knowledge about homes in general and the building process and understanding materials and really helping clients to visualize spaces. So that was like a really, although it wasn't my thing, it was a critical element of what has made me into the broker that I am today. And I was just sitting at dinner one night with a girlfriend and kind of complaining about my lack of creative freedom, feeling like there was kind of a ceiling that I didn't know that I was gonna bust through. And she was in real estate, and she said, Athena, you love design, you love homes, you love humans, you love talking to humans. Like, why don't you get into real estate? And I honestly just had never thought of it. I was like, I never considered being a realtor. And I really did have that used car salesman, like negative connotation of it being very transactional. And she said, "Look, just sit down with the owner of my company. I think you guys have very similar energy. You have very similar like belief systems in terms of how you approach business. Like just talk to him." And I sat down with my future mentor, future boss, and had lunch. And he's one of those people that just like radiates sunshine. He approaches life and business from such a relational, like, how can I help people and make it fun and make it so that I am creating a change and having a big impact on people's lives through one of the biggest purchases or sales of their life. Like it should be a very relational experience. And I sat down with him and I was just completely blown away with his business model and his perspective, and I quit my job the next day, literally. It was, and I was getting ready to have my last knee surgery just to clean things up, and it was a surgery that I'd been putting off because it meant 12 weeks on crutches. I was trying to regrow cartilage in one of my knees, and unfortunately it didn't even take after 12 weeks of being on crutches. But that was the perfect opportunity for me to get through real estate school.
Yeah.
So I quit my job. Had knee surgery, and the entire time recovery, I think I got through school in a little under 2 months and immediately started working with that company. And I followed John. His name's John Stegner. He owns a small brokerage here in Denver called the New Era Group. They're wonderful, but I followed every move he made for about a year. I mean, I went on showings with him. Did his open houses with him. I've watched him on client calls. I watched him make market analysis. They release you from real estate school into the wild with like almost zero practical skills or ability to actually do anything in real estate. So I think
Mhm.
the importance of having a good mentor is so critical to being successful and to really, especially if you're a hands-on learner, like for me, I clearly was coming from athletics. I, the only way I learned as an athlete was to do.
Yeah.
So that's how I took that into real estate. And by following someone that knows what they're doing and that you align with in terms of how your why and really what's pushing you in the business, I mean, that was the greatest gift I ever could have been given. And it allowed me to get my feet under me because I eventually was able to show some of his clients for him and make a little bit of money. And
Mhm.
everyone, I think there's this misconception that you get that realtors deals just start falling in your lap when you get licensed. And
Mm.
it's like you have to work like a psychopath consistently for a long time to build
Mhm.
up a good business. And I really, really owe my success to my mentor, John, my coaches that I've had since, and my psychotic ski coaches that would literally make me hike a mountain if I showed up late. So it definitely taught me some discipline and accountability that would come in handy later on.
Very cool. So, and I don't think I heard you mention this, but how long ago are we talking? How long ago did you get into real estate?
Almost a decade. So
Okay.
about 9.5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
Awesome.
I mean, it makes me feel old. I guess I kind of do feel
Yeah.
old.
There's a lot of people listening to this that will tell you you were a puppy. Okay,
It's
so
true.
so that was my first question then is based on that kind of story, what would be your advice to somebody new getting in the business? And I say that, I'm going to preface that by saying obviously there's more people getting out,
Yeah.
but that also is an incredible opportunity. So if you're listening to this and you know somebody who you think you should get into real estate, well, have them listen to what she's about ready to say, because everybody needs that advice. What would you tell somebody if they're getting into real? What's the advice you'd give them?
First of all, I would say you need to be ready to you're not going to be working 9 to 5. Real estate is, especially when you're starting off, you have to be willing to show up and put in the hours and have the discipline to keep yourself accountable to working your butt off. how do you know what to do? You find an amazing mentor. You find a great coach. You find an agent that you know, admire and align with, and ask if you can help them with anything, if you could follow them, just as much hands-on experience as you can get. And I think you know, we all need a reminder of that even now with the market being so difficult. It's like, what are the keys to being a better agent? And a lot of times that is spend iron sharpens iron, like spending time with agents that you want your business to be like. So don't be shy. Find someone that is willing to let you help them, or is willing to at least let you watch what they're doing, and take notes, like study every move they make, see how they present themselves to clients at meetings, see how they show up on the phone, see what tasks they're keeping themselves accountable to every day. And then for me, like, coaching has always been a huge part of my business. I believe very highly that we don't know what we don't know. And when you're so entwined with just trying to hustle, a lot of times we don't even realize that we're spending our time hustling on the wrong things. And I firmly believe that having someone from the outside that can look in at your business and help you understand A, where your time is going, and B, like how to most efficiently use your time is the most critical thing. Because you know, there are so many ways to be successful in real estate that I think it can get paralyzing because we overcomplicate it. And I am the queen of doing this, because I'm like, this is, you know, a really neat opportunity. I'm gonna run after that. I'm gonna try this. And it's like, you just have to know what, like, figure out what items, what things you enjoy. Like, if you're someone that's not gonna make phone calls, then figure out if something else to fill that void for connecting with people. Are you going to film videos and send individualized videos? Are you writing notes to your clients? Are you inviting them out for, you know, coffee or lunch, or like hosting events, breaking breads? Like, what are the things that you enjoy and are good at? And build a consistent, you know, accountability schedule around that. And honestly, I think that's been my key to success. And whenever we get busy and we forget to do those basics that make us successful, and then you see your business ebb and flow. And the
Yeah.
more that we can find consistency in our day-to-day routines and actions, it's like you have to have that non-negotiable time on your calendar of, this is my chunk of time that I'm going to get my calls, notes, you know, team meeting, maybe coaching done for the day. And then the rest of the time I can fill up. But you have to be insanely accountable to yourself, because the only person that you're letting down at the end of the day is yourself. And it's,
Yeah.
deals don't fall in your lap. You have to go get them, and you have to continue to work efficiently and smartly with your time in order for your business to continue growing and for you to continue being successful and to not get burnt out, like which is almost impossible in this industry for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
So self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost an oxymoron to even
Yeah,
say it,
I
because
know.
you know, if you really want to truly, and you said at the very beginning, like, you better embrace the fact that if you want to be successful, and that really goes to any business,
Yeah.
but definitely real estate, you got to be willing to be accessible on nights and weekends and at the times when are the most inconvenient, when you don't
Mhm.
want to take the call. But that's what separates the best from the rest is they've, in the beginning,
Yeah,
that's what it takes until you scale. But you
totally.
can't scale without success and money, basically.
And that's a perfect, I mean, it's an interesting transition period too. When when you're starting off, you have to say yes to every opportunity. So it's, you know, hosting open houses for other people. It's, you know, taking clients at any time of day. It's taking clients all over the place, like driving, you know, way outside of what you're used to. But then you also have to when your business does get to that point where you need to learn how to say no to certain things and create parameters and boundaries and understand like what that looks like. That's been one of my biggest challenges because I'm such a yes person. So it's really finding that a balance of when the market is tough, you can't be as picky. You really have to be able to serve your clients in a very wide range of ways and be that go-to for them, but also understanding when you do need to put some boundaries in order to have a life outside of real estate. And that's definitely been my greatest challenge and is my biggest focus right now is like, how can I be the most efficient with my time so that I can have some balance and make sure I'm taking really good care of myself and make sure I'm focusing on health and all the other things in life that aren't real estate that tend to easily go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is,
Absolutely.
it kind of it just comes with the territory. And I
Yeah.
always say you have to have a little bit of a psychosis to want to be successful in this industry, but it also I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, I think it's the most rewarding career and I love it more every year. And I don't just say that. Like I genuinely love my job more and more every year. And it's because I'm helping getting to watch these incredible chapters of people's lives and be a part of that, especially as as I come up on a decade. It's like, yeah, I've been able to help people get their first home and then sell it and get their family's first home and then their first
Yeah.
investment property. Like that's an incredible experience. I think real estate can be extremely rewarding in ways that people don't even realize.
Yeah. Legacy.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to you say you love it more and more, that makes like one of you right now because after 2020 and 2021, where it was like you just had to have a pulse to survive or to thrive, really, and
Yeah.
then obviously what we've gone through, and really there's no end in sight right now, and I think the unknown is the scariest piece.
Yeah.
So as you're speaking now to somebody with experience, whether that's somebody, really anybody who's been around the block now for 4 or 5 years, has experienced this roller coaster, right? And so how is it that you are still feeling the way that you're feeling even through what we're going through now?
Yeah, and it has like, I like to say last year I felt like I was a hamster on a wheel just running and not getting anywhere. Now I say that and I still had my best year ever. And I honestly attribute that to the fact that the other agents on my team and the people that I'm surrounded by are such an amazing support system and the coaches that I work with that I know that I have people by my side that have my back no matter what, and that they're going to bring me lightness. They're going to bring levity to difficult times. And I really think, I always say do the heavy light test and anything in your life. If you leave an interaction and you leave feeling heavy, that's something to take note of. If you leave an interaction and you feel light, that's something to take note of. So really focusing on spending time and working with people that are like-minded, and you can kind of like laugh about how rough it has been with, and figure out how you can be honestly like figuring out what the most difficult parts of the business are through these challenging times for you personally, and then figuring out how you can either delegate better, how you can get rid of certain things, or how you can dive in and lean into that uncomfortability and lean into some of the things that you're not great at. Maybe push outside of your comfort zone a little bit and use it as like a time to say, you know what, like I've got nothing to lose right now. So I'm gonna put myself out there and I'm gonna try something new. No matter how long you've been in the business, there's always something that we can do to adjust the way that we're doing business. And when it's tough, why not take risks? Like I know it sounds counterintuitive because we want to cling to comfort, and that's natural. And obviously just getting deals done is, you're like, that's all I want right now. But it's also hard, difficult times in our lives, difficult times in business, like that. Those are the periods that you look back and you see that you grew the most. That's where growth happens. And if you run away from the uncomfortability, you're probably not going to grow. You're probably going to actually, your business is going to decline because you're not focused, and you're not thinking about how you can flip the negative and over and basically find a way to empower yourself and be more resilient and be more imaginative and creative about how you're doing your business. I mean, I can tell you last year burnt me out so much, and my team, that we all got through it together. But we sat down at the end of the year and we looked at what the pain points were in our business. And it was really eye-opening to see that we all had very like similar pain points, and that there were actionable tools that we could use to help make those go away, so that even with the unknown, because that is it, like, no, none of us know right now. This is a very, every prediction I think that has happened over the last year and a half about what the real estate market would do and where interest rates would go, I feel like has just been completely turned on its head. Like, none of
Yeah.
us know what is to come. But the thing that we can do is control our output and our actions. So how can we use these challenging times to adjust what we're doing on a day-to-day basis? And like, Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books. It says if you can just focus on being 1% better every day instead of trying to like completely change everything you're doing all at once, like so many New Year's resolutions, it's like, how can I be 1% better every day? Because at the end of the year, that is going to end up a mountain of change versus giving up like 2 weeks into January because you took on too much. So it's like,
Yeah.
what little actions can I do every day to be a better version of myself all around? And that could look like, hey, I did not work out enough last year, and I know that my head is in a much better place if I work out. So I'm going to make sure this year that I get at least 4 days a week at the gym. That could be your tool to success in real estate. It doesn't have to necessarily be just diving into real estate, because it's like, if you're not focusing on being the best you and taking care of you, like nothing is going to go well.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think we've probably all learned that over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how many people listening to this can say that they have overcome 9 ACL surgeries. Um, not
That
many, if any.
drive now, it's like 4 plasma transfusions a month. I mean,
Oh, you're just compounding it now. You're just
yeah.
you're just bragging now.
I'm like, it just gets more, more and more of like a sci-fi novel. I'm like, I'm gonna be a robot any day now, I swear.
Almost like a horror movie. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, maybe like a weird Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So again, as we talk through, and you've mentioned a lot of different things here, and I think as somebody who is trying to again grind through, and you mentioned, you got to find your thing, and you got to focus in, because as you mentioned, you didn't really elaborate on it, but there's a lot of shiny objects and more shiny objects, because like there's far too many people, and myself included, that have become coaches and created a shiny object that, I do believe is something that an agent should adopt and embrace in their business. But how does someone, and I recognize that as somebody on that side, but
Yeah,
how do you as an agent, especially if you're relatively new or you're struggling, how do you wade through that forest of just because the truth is they've got people like me and way more eloquent people coming at them who have really compelling reasons why you should do this and you should do that. And it's like, how do I know? How do I dial that in other than just, well, what do you like to do? Because
yeah,
I think for many, it's not necessarily Yeah, it is, but to a degree, you may not like it. You might love
Yeah.
everything you do, but it makes you the most successful or you're the
Where
best
are you
at
going to
it.
show
So,
up?
yeah, what's your advice to somebody in that realm?
Yeah, I honestly believe that until you put yourself in positions to try different things, you're not going to know where you thrive the most, because you can say, you can sit and say, oh, I love cold calling. And then you sit and make 200 cold calls a day. And it's like, yeah, that's probably probably not my thing. I did that when I first started, and it taught me a lot about how to present myself on the phone, but I absolutely hate cold calling. So I knew it was something that was not going to be, calling Zillow leads was not going to be a part of my business. I learned very quickly that I loved writing handwritten notes and that I was getting a huge response from it. So I think it's a fine, don't veer outside of the box too much in terms of like, what are your passions already, and what are your spheres? Like if you love rock climbing, for instance, and you have an amazing rock climbing community, how can you turn that into your sphere in real estate? Like how can you let everyone know in that community that you're going to be their go-to realtor, and that you're going to have an action, like a list of action items that you're going to follow to actually, make that your sphere. And if you find, when you're working with people that have like-minded and similar interests, I believe that's where we thrive. So instead of, saying, oh, I'm gonna try going after HR departments and maybe help doctors, but you have no idea about anything in the world of medicine and no idea about what, how hospitals are run, like that's probably not the shiny object that you want to follow. So really finding, I don't like to use the word niche. I think that's a
Yeah.
question we get a lot as agents, is like, well, what's your niche and what's your region? And I think with the amount of tools and available information that we have today, to say that you only specialize in like one certain thing is kind of ridiculous, because we can become pretty well-versed experts very, very readily because of the amount of information online. So and just through experience and opportunities. So finding, I mean, obviously trying as much as you possibly can. Figure out where you know that you're going to show up, what you're going to show up for, and what are just simply things that you say you're going to do, but look at them on your calendar and it makes you cringe. And you know that, because that's going to come through in the way that you're conducting yourself. If
Yeah.
like you said, like, do we love the grind every day? No, absolutely not. It gets exhausting. It's like the last thing you want to do after a really long day is go through and make sure that you're responding to everyone that was trying to get a hold of you that day while you were with clients or whatever it
Yeah.
may be. But
Yeah.
where are you going to show up, and what environments can you put yourself in where you're going to show up authentically? Because I think if
Yeah.
you're doing anything from a place that's not authentic, it's going to show. It's going
Yeah.
to, like, the way you conduct your business is not going to be consistent, and it's not going to be how you connect with people.
Yeah.
So fall on your face and then get back up and try something else.
I love that. I love that. Now, what would you say? That's, I mean, you've given a lot today. How do you unpack everything that you've just kind of shared and kind of give your parting thoughts?
Absolutely. So yeah, I tend to get really excited with lots of
That's
ideas.
good though. That's good.
I hope it inspires someone. I would say, okay, two things. First of all, life never goes to plan. Like anytime we set out and we think we have life figured out, this is how it's gonna look. You have to realize, like for me, it was getting Lyme disease, because it took me from a professional skier to, someone that struggles. I mean, haven't not been in pain for 9 years. It's been the hard, every day is the hardest thing ever. So being able to have something that I care about so much and being able to understand that the most challenging times in your life are actually, and like the curveballs that life throws,
Mhm.
those are actually like our opportunities to lean in and grow as humans, and really understand that like life is going to throw curveballs, and we it's our ability to be able to pivot that is critical. And then I think I'm like super ADHD. I think a lot of realtors are, there's a ton of shiny objects, a trillion things to do. If I am not keeping myself accountable, like I use what a greatness tracker it's called, and it basically has every day of the week what activities I'm supposed to be doing. So, how many calls I'm supposed to make, how many notes, how many interactions, like I track these things, and I used to turn it into a coach, and you get fined if you missed a day of calls or whatever it may be. But the more that we can simplify the activities that we're doing to the ones that we are going to do consistently and
Mhm.
actually show up and do them consistently for not just a month. Like this, it takes years in some instances and
Yeah.
for it to reap the rewards. But if you do not stay accountable to just the basics and to figuring out what simple action items you have to do every day in order to be successful, like you're always going to be chasing. You're
Mhm.
never going to find your rhythm. And honestly, I think that is the key to finding some balance and some sort of at least it keeps your head motivated. It keeps your eyes looking forward when things are difficult, and the
Yeah.
market's been difficult. So stay consistent, keep your eyes looking forward, and just show up for the fight.
I love that. Now, if somebody's listening to this and saying, "Damn, I need a case of this energy. I need more Athena in my life." How do they connect with you?
I would love for that to be the case. So please, everyone, feel free to reach out for some energy or anything. If you go to my website, it's got all my contact information on it. So call, text, email me, but my website's www.athena, Athena, Brownson, Brownson, Realtor, Realtor.com, AthenaBrownsonRealtor.com. And yeah, whatever your life's challenges, whatever input I can give, if you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking just for some motivation, give me a call. I don't bite. And I'd love to connect.
I don't bite. What about on social? Where are you most active?
I'd say Instagram, Athena Brownson Realtor as well. And I post a ton of video content. I love making videos. Like clearly I like to talk. So I make a lot of videos and try to provide really good informational, educational content because I think that is what we all need. No one teaches you what you need to know as an adult, I think. And I try and provide a little bit of insight that I've gained along the way, and in hopes of making real estate a little bit more approachable for people.
One thing I didn't ask you is what is your market today?
What is my market?
Yeah, like I mean, you grew up in Breckenridge, but what
Yeah.
is your market? You're in Colorado
So
still.
I cover the greater Denver metro area up to
Okay.
Boulder. I also do sell in Breckenridge still, but my
Awesome.
team covers from Colorado Springs to Fort Collins
Oh,
as
damn.
well.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So we have a
Awesome.
pretty wide range. So anything you need in Colorado, we got your back.
That's fantastic. Athena, this has been fantastic. It's been a fun conversation. Been great to
Thank
get to know
you.
you and
You
I mean, I think you're an inspiration to the real estate industry. So thank you for sharing with our community and I hope we can stay in touch.
I hope so too. I really appreciate the opportunity, and you're wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
You too.